Hello, and welcome to episode 11 of Read the Manga with Corey and Zach. Today we're going to be talking about the popular occult shonen series Jujutsu Kaisen. We're going to be going up to the Mahito arc, so this is going to be part one of a multi-part Jujutsu Kaisen series.
It has nothing to do with the martial art that is a derivative of judo, either in the original sense of jujitsu in Japan or the Brazilian kind. The
Yeah,
jujutsu is juju, like voodoo kind of
yeah,
stuff.
like bad juju.
Yeah,
Is that actually what it means?
juju?
Yeah, but no, is that actually what the title's going for? Like
Yeah.
jujutsu is in like bad juju?
Jujutsu Kaisen translates to sorcery battle
Oh, gotcha.
or
That's
sorcerer
interesting.
battle.
So it's
Yeah,
not as
or
it's
sorcery
not as
fight.
it's not as out there of a title as I thought it was upon first glance.
I mean, it would be like in English if you had like Wizard Battle be the name of a
Okay.
comic series, and yeah,
So
yes.
this is one that I hadn't really put much thought in, and you recommended us doing, and I want to know why you thought this would be a good fit for the podcast. Just like why you thought I should read this.
Well, I remember it's actually kind of funny. I was thinking back at this, like, why did I decide to read Jujutsu Kaisen? And I wasn't sure
Mm-hmm.
whether it was Black Clover or Jujutsu Kaisen that I was talking to you months ago about just the modern state of Shonen Jump.
Mm.
And I was like, I hate that I'm having to go and, excavate series that have been canned as my go-to. I want some new stuff. I want my weeklies.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy those. And you're like, well, I've heard some good things about the power system and you know Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure you said that or
I might
Black
have.
Clover. And I haven't really checked out Black Clover yet. It's a newer shonen, but like Jujutsu
Yeah.
Kaisen was one that um the moment I saw it's a high school anime, I was like, all right, well, buckle up, Buckaroo. We know what we're going in for. It's gonna be a lot of we're gonna take whatever the concept is of this series of sorcerer battle, and we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna make it like school. And what I
Yeah.
appreciate about Jujutsu Kaisen is it subverted that. Like that expectation I had just was completely crushed. Very simply, like whether you started uh okay, so a lot of folks don't know Jujutsu Kaisen was a 4-issue run where the chapters were like 60 pages long, so they're much larger. It was like a one shot with a recurring few chapters. And then it got really popular. And so the artist did something interesting, which was they brought in the character Yuji and springboard the series that direction. Uh, but it's like pretty much if you start the anime though, it's gonna start with Yuji. If you go with the
Mm-hmm.
manga, it's gonna start with Yuta. And
Mm-hmm.
just so folks know, that part of the series is gonna be animated as a movie, like a
Yeah, they're
prequel
gonna do
movie.
a prequel movie of like the original like zero chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen that were about that other protagonist,
Yeah, and
which I think is kind of interesting. I really like the animation in the anime. I think it's very smooth for like
Mappa,
modern
and
day
they're gonna they're
weekly.
gonna be they're gonna be doing Chainsaw Man, and they do Doro Hedoro. So those
Yeah,
are
I'm
two
excited.
right there
I'm
that
very excited to see what they do
that
with Chainsaw Man.
I'm whether they go more Doro Hedoro or they go more Jujitsu. Uh,
Hmm.
I'm happy either way. That's why I think they're the perfect company to pick it up.
Yeah,
Uh, that'll be an awesome episode is when we finally get to sink
do
our
some
teeth
Chainsaw Man.
into Chainsaw Man.
Yeah, like the
Yeah,
teeth of a
but
chainsaw.
so right from the get go, reading Jujutsu Kaisen, it's funny because it's like you have a setup where it's like, well, you done fucked up, and now you have to go to our special school,
Hmm.
reluctant hero,
Yes.
and he's just like, all right, let's go. I'll enroll in this school, and they're like, you're one of 3 students, so it's not even a school. No, we use it.
Yeah.
We're a religious school just so we could get tax breaks and not be bothered by the government for what we do.
Yeah, it's a cover.
And then
It
you're like, so
feels
it's not
very
even, it's chapter Black Yu Hakusho, if anything, not even a
well.
school series like My Hero Academia.
It
Like,
reminds it reminds me of like a magical version of like Kingsman or something, of like this sort of
yeah.
like elite secret school that you go to, and then you got the kind of weird laid back teacher, but then like it's not really, you're not really learning lessons, you're more like learning on the job. They're essentially like private contractors masquerading as a school, of like going around and like fighting these curses or whatever.
And of course, when you're in that kind of ballpark, you know, the more, what's that word? Eccentric you are, the longer screen time you'll have in the series, for sure.
Yeah.
It's one of those series where, much like Chainsaw Man, the adage used, like, you have to be insane to do this job. You have to be a different kind of person just mentally. And it's funny to see a character like Yuji come into it. He's not your standard, like, boring, he's a super average guy. Like, yeah, he's a nice guy, but you often see him stand there and actually have moral dilemmas like a normal person. Like, oh shoot, am I killing people? Like, I can't kill people. That's not my job. People are like, well, sometimes
Yeah.
you gotta kill people to save people, and he's just like, man, that's a tough call. I gotta think about that. And it's not like other series where it's like, I could do it without hurting anybody. Like, it's very realistic, like
Well,
how
because
this
there's the
series
whole
goes
thing
about it.
where Yuji has that thing with his grandfather, where his grandfather dies and leaves him with those words, and he kind of like interprets it as like everybody should have like a good death, and he's kind of like at that point where it's like he has that moral compass and that sort of that existential crisis about killing people because he's been close to death recently. It's one of
And
those things where it's yeah,
and it's that definition of his moral compass where he believes people deserve a good death. Like,
yeah,
the series right from the get-go makes it clear that it's like death is an inevitability of anybody's life, and it puts a character in a position to realize that, if anything, all their goodwill and fortune, every effort they do is just postponing the inevitable. But it's kind of beautiful in a sense, because unlike other series where you're like, well, Kakashi will never die. Why? Because technically, when the series ends, like, even if you say he dies 70 years later, like, you'll never see the character like go through anything relatively close to that at all. Whereas in Jujutsu Kaisen, like, they make it very clear, like, when you start the series, that it's like the concept of death and the way you go is more important than the fact that it happens. Is, I think, one
yeah.
of the cool things about the series.
Yeah,
And
it's like, are you dying with dignity or not? Basically, like I don't know. Everyone kind of deserves to have their life ended in a satisfactory way, whether
like,
it's on time or not.
yeah, because you got characters of all kinds and types in different series where it's like, I want to have that battle to the death. I need a
Oh,
warrior's
keep
death.
going.
And
Yeah,
then you got, like, the kind that are like, I just want to live forever. I'm never gonna die.
yeah,
But like with Jujutsu Kaisen, like, that's why I think it's really awesome to have a villain like Mahito and a character like Yuji. Like, because
yeah.
Mahito is the definition of like cruel and unusual punishment. Like, I think you've referenced, like, I have no mouth, but all I can do is scream, like, three
Oh
times
yeah,
on this podcast.
I probably have. Yeah,
And like that
I love that part.
character, his hands are essentially just a walking version of that. Like, hey, I
Yeah,
grab your soul and now you're a butterfly thing or the dog thing or whatever. And it happens. But that's why
yeah.
I think
Because
his character is great to foil against Yuji, because they're both starting up in their respective worlds. Mahito apparently is new, and they both had
yeah,
a same friend bring him to like a point where it's like that kid who was being bullied could have possibly pulled Mahito to the good side in his mind. Whereas
yeah,
Yuji was looking at his buddy like, I want to pull you to my side. They're both pulling on this guy.
yeah.
And like, yeah, that's why the opening to the anime is fucked up, because it shows like parts where it shows like the possibility of slice of life school stuff with that dude. You're like, that doesn't happen. He gets turned into like a freaking troll and then just goes, why
Oh, that
Yuji, and
was
then dies.
disturbing. That
dude.
was like that was up there with the
Full Metal
transmutation.
Alchemist,
Yeah,
Girl
that's what it
Dog. I was
reminded
about
me
to say,
of.
Jujutsu Kaisen
Yeah.
gives me a super FMA vibe, which is how like I think it's the laid backness to how bizarre a lot of things are that characters have, and the
A,
goofy extent, like that,
a lot
like
of it feels like a lot of it feels like Junji Ito for teenagers, basically.
yeah,
Yeah, where
and
it's got that kind of like disturbing sort of like manipulation of the human form and these weird monsters that are having these weird phrases because they're like remnants of people's fucking like negative energies and shit. And it's essentially like, I don't know, the way the whole like curse system works is kind of interesting because of like
it's
it's
kind of
so
like the
kind of
bad guy.
otherworldly and disturbing.
It's kind of like the monsters from One Punch Man. Like they're either compulsions or obsessions or things that
Yeah,
are typical things that we run into in day to day life that end up exponentially like becoming an issue. Like I
but
think
it's like
Mahito.
it's like the stress and the negative energy and the thought loops that overtake our minds during the day. We release those and they materialize in curses. So we have like some fucking curse that just
There's
like,
probably a road rage curse out there
yeah, he's
that's
just
just like
walking
a
around like, I wasn't waving you on, I was flipping you off.
threw a D cell back at you, 93. But
uh,
all right, so like essentially now that we kind of set in motion that yes, this is a series that's interesting and takes place in a world where it's like organizations and such. What I like about it is like, well, what like one I want to start on is like the characters. Like we'll just get out of the way. Gojo's like the best character in the series. Everybody thinks that.
no, there's
Even he.
there's one character that like above all of them, I'm like, okay, this is my guy. Do you want to guess who it
Salmon.
is? No, it's not him. It's not the that guy. It's fuck, I'm trying to remember his name. It's Nanami.
Oh,
Liko
Nanami's
Nanami.
great.
He's fucking great. How he just wants to get out of work on time and he's just like freaking out because he's like, it's 5:30. I better fucking clock out by 6.
Yeah, and that's actually part of his character's ability set
Yeah.
is
He has
he restricts himself during normal periods of work operation or hours of
yeah.
operation. So he doesn't like he's like I just take this job because it's easy. But then once he
Yeah.
gets into overtime, that's where all his like latent power comes out that he didn't use
I
all day, which is an amazing character concept. I think that restriction is an awesome restriction on a character.
Yeah, it kind of represents of like how you have to be like trim and proper to go to work and not be your full like unleashed self.
And the
But I
fact
think there's the
he
there's the part where he's talking to the girl in the bakery and he has one line that just like fucking struck me where he's talking about his job and he's just like work that's been removed from the cycle of human life makes more money for some reason, where it's like the girl who's the baker, the guy that's making your fucking fries at McDonald's, they're like part of this normal economy that everybody
they're
experiences on a
essential.
ground level. Yeah, they're essential workers of the world, but the people that are making the real money are the people that are whose jobs are completely divorced from the goings on of normal society. We're almost living in two completely different universes.
Yeah, like at his job, before he saw the girl, he was told that you don't have to care about the customers, just take their
Mm-hmm.
money and go. And then he goes and runs into this girl, makes significantly less money than him, and she's being
Yeah.
super courteous. What line really struck with me that dude said, and he's my number two. So essentially we switched, unless
Yeah.
Gojo's not your number. But the thing that Nanami told me, like that was freaking great. Like the line that I loved was when he's talking to Yuji about like growing up in adulthood. And it's probably my favorite line about adulthood from a series, specifically an anime, in which he's like, risking your life, fighting, all that stuff. That's not being an adult. Being an adult is like waking up and going to a job you hate, going and finding it like gray hairs on you that you weren't expecting, and finding out that the bread that you like or the sandwiches you like got discontinued at the place that you go to regularly. So you have to go out of your way now to get them. And like, I love
Yeah.
how I mentioned to Destiny that early on that I'm like, there is a character in this series that has an entire monologue based off the fact that part of being an adult is the fact that you're like things that you normally take for granted and expect end up disappearing and is like a minor annoyance that'll bother you for the rest of your life. And like
Mm-hmm.
I love that about him because he's like he makes it very clear to Yuji too. He's like, I'm the adult. You're a kid. Like whether like Gojo, he'll bring a kid to a freaking battle and
Mm-hmm.
be like, what you think that why would you bring that kid here? Like, wouldn't he hold you back? And he's like, no, the fact that I brought him here means I don't take you seriously enough to even worry about this kid's life being in danger. I'm that strong. He's here to watch me and you do
Yeah.
this.
Like Gojo is like the cool uncle, whereas Kento Nanami is more of like the like businessman father type.
Yeah. Like you know you're in good hands. You're just not gonna
Mm-hmm.
have 110% fun. But that's why Yuji's a great
Yeah.
character because he doesn't get like Naruto or Ichigo or Yusuke would all like have a gripe dealing with Nanami, whereas Yuji just kind of was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Yuji is very go with the flow, and I kind of like that about him. That he's
He
kind of
reminds
like,
me of Yo from Shaman King. Like
okay.
Yo is very much like, so what's going on? They're like, a bad guy's gonna win a tournament and it's gonna destroy the world. And he's like, that's not good. We should probably stop that. And people are like, why aren't you freaking out? And he's like, doesn't fix anything. Let's just get going. And like,
Have you? Sorry to cut you off.
no worries.
Have you noticed a trend in modern shonens? Because I noticed this in Chainsaw Man as well, of these teenage shonen protagonists being more overtly sexual than like the previous generation. Because like Naruto, Ichigo, and fucking Luffy and all of them don't really, you can't really imagine them having like conceptions about sex or being really like, horny. But like the protagonist of Chainsaw Man and the protagonist of like of Jujutsu Kaisen are both like very much interested in women, to the point where the guy that Yuji is like, the dude asked him what kind of girls he likes. He's like, I don't know, man, curvy chicks, nice butts. I like Jennifer Lawrence. And he's just like,
Tall
can we just
girls with
become best
big
friends?
asses.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, at least like he knows what he wants, and you can picture him having like a fucking like healthy sex life. Unlike the more like, I feel like that might be a sign of like Japanese culture becoming a little bit more open sexually, of like just kind of being like, we can have like male teenagers talking about this stuff and not just being lonely virgins all the time.
I think it's a combination of like one as time just goes further and further, thanks to our great boys pushing boundaries, people are
Mm-hmm.
getting less and less privy, or like they're not. We don't. Most people are going into manga now and anime. They're not going to be like clutching pearls. Like a lot of people are going to be dipping their toes into series like Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, all that stuff. Popular, easy to digest stuff that's pretty good. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like I get what you mean though, because it's like Yusuke, it'd be like, girls are
Yusuke,
gross. Leave me
no,
alone.
dude,
I don't care.
that's bullshit. Yusuke was sexual. Yusuke was like checking out Keiko's ass all the time. Like Yusuke was straight up like trying to grope her and shit.
I took that more as like
Like
it was
Yuji is
okay.
much
Okay, I guess Yusuke's a bad example
Yuji is much
because
more in line with Yusuke than he is with like Ichigo, Naruto, or Luffy. Can you agree
okay,
with that at least?
all right. Well, Naruto would turn into naked women and hung out with Jiraiya
Oh yeah, that's true. He was kind of
and
perv.
Kakashi. Those are all perverts. Which I love the fact that everybody will talk about how stoic Kakashi is, and you're like, dude, he's reading porn all the time.
Well, he's reading the books that Jiraiya writes, which is fucking
Yes, Jiraiya
hilarious.
writes porn. Naruto learned from two men, one who read. That was a strategic plot point after the time skip. Was like Naruto was like, "Hey, I know what Jiraiya's next book is about," and starts to talk about it and spoil it for
Yeah.
Kakashi, and he's like,
Dude,
"No."
I guess maybe because like Naruto becomes so stoic by the end that I stopped
Yeah.
kind of realizing that he was horny. But yeah,
Well, then
I
they
guess that's
they
true.
sidelined it because in the beginning it's fun to have the trifecta of like the love triangle, but after
Right.
it became very clear to the author that the fan base was more looking at like a love Sasuke Naruto thing.
Well, yeah, we were into
They're
the
like,
sword fights.
but yeah, um, No, it is something I've noticed though, is like you have more characters that are willing to just be real. I mean, honestly, Yuji's not a pervert because you either get pervert main character where all he's trying to do is get laid, or you get dude who has no idea what a vagina
Yeah.
looks like Goku or Luffy. Which
Yuji is
I'm
like
I'm
Yuji
under
has a
okay,
casual
okay.
sexual appetite.
This also goes against a theory I have about Luffy, which I think like from Sanji talking about how he knows what a prostitute house is in Wano, and like how they're like
Oh yeah, the
Sanji, don't get
whorehouse.
wrapped up in that. Like
Yeah.
it makes me think like they are adults. They probably do find downtime here and there. Maybe not with each
Yeah.
other, but I have an idea that, everybody was worried that Gold Roger had a kid
Okay.
and they did that whole thing. But imagine if it was too late and Luffy, with his crazy libido, has just been laying pipe all across the Grand Line. It's like inevitable. And Garp's like, I knew it. I knew
Well,
my
okay.
boy.
That's something I can see about One Piece because considering that they get drunk and stuff, like I could see Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji go into like a whorehouse off screen, like every now and
Yeah.
then go like sneaking off to go check out the local flavor, you know?
I mean, Oda finally felt confident enough to straight up just have Sanji be like, "Holy crap, a whorehouse out here in this island?
Yeah.
Let's go!" And they're like, "Dude, we're in the middle of a battle," and he's just like, when are we gonna run to another whorehouse during the battle?
Yeah.
So it's like,
um,
no, I've noticed
so
that, like, what was it? In one of the chapters they talk about that. Like, what was it? Um, oh, you might have not read that far. Some the it's just like they bring up like Yuji and whether he's like even interested romantically in other people, and Yuji was
Mhm.
like, who isn't? Like, I like people too. I'm a human being as much as you guys don't treat me like one. And like,
Oh yeah.
and they're like, wait, but like, what was it? I guess this one girl who was like chubby in his class was like sitting there and heard like him talking to some friends, and they're like, "What kind of girl would you be into?" And he's like, "I'd be into her because she seems really nice and
Mm.
a really cool, genuine person. Like, we'd probably have a lot of fun if we hung out." And she like that stuck with her so hard that she like became like a babe or whatever. But like, apparently, Yuji's a normal person who has romantic feelings on a regular level, and I think what we're starting to see is people are feeling more confident in not creating Superman like Bruce Wayne or Clark, whatever, stupid,
Clint
super,
Clark.
yeah, yeah,
Clark Kent.
whatever.
That shouldn't be a tongue twister for us, but
Damn you, Jack Kirby and Stanley, with your fucking alliteration.
uh,
James Jonah Jameson, say it 50 times straight. It doesn't get better. But like,
um,
it's like one of those things where like we're starting to see more realistic portrayals of these protagonists that typically you see a lot more in like Marvel comics. Like Peter Parker's obviously not like he's a horn dog. He's trying to get laid with Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy half the time. Half the time he's getting irritated. Bad guys are effing up a date or something. He's like a normal. That's why we like Spider Man. Like he shows up like,
uh,
oh wow, like I thought the whatever service was shitty, but I'm gonna punch you in the face with a quip. All right, cool. And like in Japan, it's like you have to have these characters where they're like already pre-flanderized before they come out. Like,
um,
you have the Goku's like, I'm just like a mountain kid who doesn't like know shit about anything. And like Bulma obviously is like, I'm gonna take advantage of this son of a bitch, and he's not gonna try and boink me at all because he doesn't even know what a penis or a vagina is. I'm in the clear.
well, he knows what balls are.
That's a pillow, sir. Where's your pillow at?
uh,
Grandpa's pillow is always here. Like, oh, let's all laugh about some kid just sexually assaulting a
uh,
chick in the middle of the night and then causing her to accidentally flash an old man her vagina.
early
That's
Dragon Ball was fucking wild. I can't wait to
everybody's
talk about
everybody's
that.
just like early Dragon Ball's where it's at. And I'm like, 14-year-old girls flashing vagina to old men. Like they're like, well, I'm talking about King Piccolo. I'm like the green guy who barfed up an egg that became himself. Like, okay.
Yeah,
Like you're good if you're into Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball, you got to take the good and the bad. That's why I
yeah.
don't know. That's something I've noticed about a lot of recent series though. is there's not a lot of bad in those ways. Not
Not a lot of
everyone.
what?
Not a lot of the bad that we used to deal with, like that weird kind
Oh,
of shit. Like
like the
Jujutsu Kaisen.
underage sexualization thing.
Well, that and just like other kind of just. I mean, they do still do weird shit, but like not that kind of weird shit, I guess. Yeah, I guess that. Like, I don't know, Jujutsu Kaisen's like it doesn't have to rely on the etchy card like a lot of
It seems
series do.
pretty tame for all the girls wearing like school uniforms. It doesn't really sexualize them that much.
I mean, it's not like he draws ugly characters or unattractive characters. It's just like with Chainsaw Man, what I liked was like it wasn't like everybody was running around with like or
So
being like
okay,
JoJo style. Like it was like the main character looks like a scrawny ass 16-year-old who doesn't eat. And
hmm.
like he doesn't run around with like even My Hero Academia, you look at the main character and like he's just super fucking jacked. Like he's like super jacked. And I'm like,
He's like ripped.
yeah.
Wait,
Like,
Deku, right?
yeah. He just
Like,
becomes like a Chad, and like but he still has a stupid Deku face.
uh,
And then he wears the same outfit so
wow.
it covers it up, but it's like, oh well
So
we're gonna do a beach episode. Let's have Babyface over like an 8-pack with like Shumatsu no Valkyrie kind of. Okay, that's one too. Shumatsu no Valkyrie has some beautiful ass men in that series. Like that's one where you're like, I didn't know muscles could develop on muscles
It's
that
just a bunch of
way.
Paulo Costas.
You gotta find
But yeah,
out.
so
But yeah,
one thing I really love about Jujutsu Kaisen is like I don't. There are so few mangas out there, like shonen mangas, that have so many cultural references that I can understand, and I appreciate that. Um, what you doing over there, buddy?
hmm? Oh, I was taking a drink.
Oh, gotcha. But yeah, so there's like so many
I just
cultural
don't like doing
references
it.
in
I,
this.
I just don't like doing it on the camera because it's awkward.
Oh, that's fine. Just drink on the camera. It's fine. It
Okay.
looks weirder when you like bend down.
Okay.
um, but yeah, like fucking there's so many cultural references that I appreciate in this. Like the fact that like he has to sit down and watch a bunch of movies while he's focusing his energy, otherwise that thing's gonna punch him in the face. And he ends up bonding with that kid about the fucking Earthworm Man movies, and they're obviously supposed to be like a stand-in for Human Centipede, where he's like, yeah, like I didn't like the third, but I really appreciate the second, just for like this mad scientist character really getting into the details of his own work.
Yeah, like
I
I
don't know, like
remember when he was Gojo was fighting that lava guy, and like he goes back to pick up Yuji, and Yuji's sitting there with the bear watching Lord of the Rings while Sam and Frodo have their moment, and like they draw Yuji's face to be like, and Gojo just walks in, he's just like, nice, all right, he just grabs him, and I don't know. That's what it's kind of funny too, because Gojo's straight up our age. So it'd be like if
Mhm.
somebody our age was like tasked with like, you got to make sure these teenagers don't kill themselves and like
He's like the camp
control these
counselor.
power. Yeah, I don't know. It's just it's kind of crazy perspective to think about, and that's why I like characters like Nanami and Gojo, where they acknowledge like they. It's not like Naruto or Bleach, where they're like, well, in Bleach they didn't have teenagers. Everybody was like hundreds of years old, other than the main cast. But like Naruto,
Yeah.
it's like, what? You're 11. You're not a ninja. What the fuck are you doing with your life? Go out there and start stabbing people. Like in this series,
Uh,
it's like, look, you're in high school and we like to grade everything specifically so that like if you're a B student, then the mission you're on is technically a C mission, but you don't know that and they don't know that, so you're good.
well,
And
yeah, it's
like
like it's a smart strategy because they're like, yeah, a level two or a level two fucking sorcerer or whatever should be able to defeat a level two curse, and like it makes sense to structure it like that because it means that like you're never overmatching your students or giving them more than they can handle. So it's like they have like the whole thing of like, because there's this shonen trope of all the time of like, we're sending you guys on like a fucking C rank mission, but oh my god, more powerful
There's
ninjas
an
appear, so
S
it's an,
class.
yeah,
Run.
yeah, exactly, that kind of shit, and then they have to overcome it. But it's like, it seems like a structural problem that's in so many fucking shonens of like the fucking like organizational system, where they never really seem to have like the powers of the protagonist versus the enemies like sorted out right, so that the protagonists are equally matched and not overwhelmed and not constantly like fighting against the odds, which is good for drama. But it was something that always bugged me about shit like Naruto, where it just seemed like a
it's
structural
it's a tool.
oversight.
It's a tool in your narrative
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
box to
yeah.
use. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's one of
I'm
the
not.
main
Wait,
reasons
can I
why.
finish my point?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just
Go ahead.
want to finish my point. Yeah. So I'm not talking about like the way it's used in the narrative. I'm talking about the way that like I'm talking about the way that's used in the narrative, in the sense that like it makes sense for the narrative in something like Naruto to constantly put your Genin above like fucking S class threats, because like it makes the odds more exciting. But that's a structural thing within the organization in Naruto that probably should be addressed. Whereas like in Jujutsu Kaisen, they make it very explicit that like, hey, if you're fucking rank C or whatever, and we're sending you against a rank C threat, you're gonna be able to fucking dominate that threat. We're not gonna send you against something that's gonna be like way above your fucking power level, you know? Like, it's just, I just kind of like that they sort of tied up that plot hole that's always been bugging me about shonen anime and manga. But anyway, sorry, go ahead and make your
No,
point.
no, no. I. That's what I was gonna say. Is I'm with that because like
Yeah.
it's one of those tools where it's like one example I like to think of is the reason why I think I didn't like Pacific Rim 2 as much as Pacific Rim 1. It's because in Pacific Rim 2, they're like, oh gosh, we straight up sent you guys against something way out of your league. We apologize. Try your best not to die. Whereas in the original Pacific Rim, it literally was like they were prepared for that mission. They were
Mm-hmm.
sure they were going to win, and actual stuff in that moment appeared and changed the pace of the battle and obviously heightened the danger. When it's stuff like that, I appreciate it. But when it's like clearly, like you said, like, wow, this is more of a logistics error on behalf of the ninja organization or whatever, then I could see like that's when the suspended, I mean, not really suspense of disbelief, but you start to question like, is this bad writing or is this organization just really dropping the
Yeah,
ball?
it's like your distribution of resources is really poor. Like, how many fucking Genin do you send to their deaths on like A rank missions?
You know, a series we glossed over that totally makes fun of that shit is One Punch Man. Like all the time, they're like sending
Oh
the
yeah.
wrong heroes against the wrong threats. Oh well, if we would have known it was a dragon threat, we would have said S class if they cared. Sorry,
Yeah.
five C classes that happened to be there and tried their best.
Well, it's pretty clear in One Punch Man that the Hero Association does not know what the fuck they're doing most of the time.
Which is great because it has a lot of setup. And that's like with
Yeah, it
Jujutsu
heightens the
Kaisen.
drama.
Jujutsu Kaisen's interesting too because it's like so far where you're at, where we're at, it's like we're getting the kind of the pieces of this world given to us, like kind of like I feel like the author took a note from like John Wick kind of world building. Like you have a lot of characters that are like Tengen. Oh yeah, no, we can't go bug him, and you're like, who's Tengen? And you don't hear about Tengen more,
Mhm.
and then you're like, don't just bring up a guy and leave him out. And you know it's not a loose end. It's like a bunch of people in a world they know talking about a world they know. We're literally a fish out of water like the main character, and that's why it's great. Naruto, it's just like I didn't know there was a secret move that like no shit, you're ninjas. Every goddamn move secret. Like that's the point, right? like but with Jujutsu Kaisen, it's literally like we're being introduced into a club, kind of like Goodfellas. Like, come with me,
Mm,
let's see
yeah,
that and it's why like I don't know it was why I picked the series too is because I felt like I told you I was like we're doing this and we're probably going to talk about a lot of other shonens when we do it and
yeah.
we're going to beat
Because
that horse to death, but that's why I picked this series because I was like we've done so many out there series like this is a deconstruction of this is a deconstruction of that, this is
so
just like
I gotta make one point where it's like one thing that does bother me about it. Like, this is gonna be like my main criticism is that one thing that's making it hard for me to connect with it And this is where I want to ask you more about like where you think the deconstruction is in the series, because so much of it just seems like wholehearted like ripoffs of shonen tropes. Like it feels so much like Naruto. Like okay, so I made a list. Power system based on real world ideas, but actually has little to nothing to do with like how those ideas function in real life. A protagonist who's kind of dim witted and has a monster trapped inside of him. A protagonist who's not really skilled at anything, but has like a ridiculous level of fucking like innate power that makes him like stronger than everybody else, whereas all the supporting characters have really creative, different, weird powers. The lazy, laid back teacher character that's stronger than everybody else, and the tournament style forest battle between two rival teams that comes after a few short introductory arcs. I feel like
You
all of that was
you
done in
you
Naruto.
you are absolutely correct on all those points. But Hunter x Hunter also did some of those things as well. A
Well,
lot of
Hunter x
series have
Hunter,
done those things as well.
I know, but Hunter x Hunter started in the '90s. Like
Like
it's more
like
acceptable for older series, you know?
I could list off the top of my head like most series will probably have a mountain that you train at that makes you stronger, a
Yeah,
forest of death, a battle between coworkers of some sort,
yeah.
and
But I
all.
guess
Like I mean,
I
even
guess
Bleach did the whole the Soul Reapers all fought each other. You know, they had a training thing. The character's got a thing in him that's evil, but can't let
yeah, yeah.
out.
And
It
I'm not gonna argue that Bleach isn't derivative because it is. And then Hunter x Hunter is like every single arc. I don't know if I call it a deconstruction, but it is messing with those tropes in a lot of
I
different
never
ways.
said
And like,
Jujutsu
yeah.
Kaisen was a deconstruction.
Yeah, you
It's
did.
literally no, I did not. What I said
Okay.
was we were going to read a series that is a well done version of the same generic stuff that kind of gets
Okay.
rehashed a lot. See,
Okay.
my thing that I go off of is you have the kind of like Devilman Yu Hakusho JoJo's effect, where it's like you have these older series. I'm not going to pick which one really sprung board the whole thing, but it's like the secret battle is the concept. It was like,
Yeah.
nobody knows about stance, nobody knows about demons, nobody knows about I don't know, devils, demons again, you know. Um it's different than Naruto, One Piece, and Bleach, where it's like within the world scopes of the groups that they actually deal with. Like honestly, Bleach would have probably been way better if they dealt with a lot more like human related things. Like people were like, what the hell is going on here? But you know,
Mhm.
I honestly kind of like that it didn't go that route too, because it showed kind of like how you could just focus on stuff too. But what I'm trying to say is like you have this whole thing where it's like D Gray Man was one of those series where the main character hunts things for a secret organization. Insert X for whatever they hunt. Same with Shaman King. Like it's like, secret organization, except it's all a battle series. Like it's all tournament. And then you go like to freaking, I don't know, Demon Slayer. Oh, secret organization for hunting things. Like you could roll through it. It's the same with Isekai. Like, oh, I slipped on a water bottle, died, and now I'm in Lord of the Rings. Like that is a concept that is being recranked out, and I'm like sitting there like, Digimon's the guy standing in the corner of the room going, people being thrown into a weird world was like what we started on, assholes. It wasn't like, oh, wow, we're all original. It's Shield Hero or the slime guy or the Japanese businessman who becomes Lolly Hitler. Like, those are all interesting concepts. They're all funny, but it's like, what differentiates Shield Hero from I got reincarnated as slime is like you become invested in a
I feel
character.
like you're making these titles up now.
No, seriously. Like, is it wrong to pick up Girls in Dungeons? Is the name of the series. It's like they went with the Fallout Boy name song title. They're like, we'll go with Fall Out Boy song titles. Like it'll just be like, got lost in Mississippi without a cell phone, but I have a car key that goes to a bunny rabbit, and you're just like, episode five is great. It's very emotional. You're like, the fuck? But yeah, I mean, it's like the things that are different are like you like Shield. A lot of people like Shield Hero. Like Richard likes Shield Hero because it was literally the main character was a guy who was like accused of sexually assaulting another character in the world, and thus was like thrown out of the main group and had to do everything on his own. So it's
Shield
like
Hero
him.
sounds like Axe Cop. Like it's just like you put two words together.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't
No,
mean to
no,
keep
no,
interrupting your points, but
no,
like,
no. It's fine. It is funny.
I'm
Shield
just
hero.
tripping out on these titles.
Sorcery battle.
Shield Hero sounds like one of those, like, if you go to Spirit and they have like a knockoff Captain America costume.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's how he's treated. Like, and and the whole point of that series is nobody likes a shield hero, but we as the audience get strapped in to watch and this guy try. And then
Yeah.
got reincarnated as slime is like, oh well, if you die and you come back as a slime. And so you see how they oh yeah, they always have to have RPG elements. But it's like I don't watch Sword Art Online. That's like a similar concept. It may not be a magical world in its own right, but it's a normal person gets trapped into a world that is like based out of fantasy. And like that is a concept that I'm like, I could list a bunch that are decent reads, and I could list a bunch that aren't that fun of reads. But that's like kind of what the point of this episode was, because we've done a lot of stuff like Death Note's a shonen, but it is not a battle series, but it is a battle series. Oh yeah, we've
Yeah.
also done Yu Hakusho, which well that was our starter, but that was our more streamlined lead-in, you know. So
Yeah.
I felt like after our 10th episode doing Jujutsu, I figured if any series I'd want to try and pin it to being similar to, it'd probably be Yu Hakusho, the one who started the whole guys got to go fight a hidden force, secret identity kind of. Nobody
The
really
occult
gets it.
shonen.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
think,
I feel like that's a genre in and of itself, occult shonen.
and as far as the cold shonens go, I think Jujutsu Kaisen has definitely been doing a lot of the same shit that others have, but with a funny twist to each one. It kind of tongue in cheeks does some of them. Like some of the tropes it keeps serious, like I'll do anything to make sure people die a pleasant death. I'm that determined. And then like you'll have a teacher characters that's like, hey, we're gonna put you through your training montage, and you're like, all right, I'm ready for my training montage, and he's like, watch Lord of the Rings and don't let this rabbit punch you. And
I
that's
did
where
like that.
Jujutsu Kaisen pulls me in. Is like it takes the same standard stuff we've seen, and like that other authors use to pander, and a lot like Chainsaw Man takes them and just like doesn't deconstruct them, but does it either shittily in one way or funny in a different way. But it's not going to deconstruct or reconstruct it. It's more of just like a parody in a sense, like of those things. Like Sukuna and his relationship is far different than any other relationship between like Naruto and the fox guy starting out, or Ichigo and his hollow part, or whatever. Like it's like there's definitely like an acknowledgement, like, well, this is a rare opportunity for me to be alive again, so I can't let this kid die. But at the same time, like I'm a dickhead. Like
Yeah, it's
Sukuna
parasitic.
when Sukuna and Mahito are laughing at Yuji, that is one of the points where I was
Yeah,
like, this
I
is
like that.
significantly different than any other shonen, because the main character is like calling upon the nine-tailed fox for the power to save his friend, and it's literally like, nah, bro, fuck you,
Yeah. It's like
deal with it
both
yourself.
both my enemy and my fucking like source of power are in cahoots and want to fucking kill me. And it's just like at that moment Yuji did feel like, oh shit, like I'm really kind of fucked here. Like
And what I loved
it's
about it
kind of
was,
like a it's kind of like one of those things where it's like you bring your girl out to meet your friend and she likes your friend better than you. But she never
yeah,
really liked you in the first place that much.
yeah, it's like, or I don't know, like, it reminds me of when Steve went to go get that one Stelio Contos guy to beat up his bully in
Yes.
American Dad. They team up,
I
like,
just watched that episode the other day. Stereo,
but then Yuji has a realization. He's standing there as his friend's like, Yuji, why? And it's like, because, bud, we're stupid and we thought we could be friends with curses. And that was the lesson to come out of that, was like, Yuji was lucky. The other guy not so much. That's it. But like, Stelio Contos,
God damn it.
but like,
Uh,
yeah, that was one of those points where it was like it was funny because it's like the stages of grief, and by that point, seeing his friend so deformed, he hit the stage of bargaining, and then like bargaining went, and And I love the emphasis the author put on it, just how much they were laughing. Like, this human's freaking stupid. He thinks I'm gonna help him fight you, dude. Like, I could totally take you, but it's way funnier to see him suffer. And the other guy's like,
Uh,
you're a dick, but I agree.
uh,
And so, like, yeah, I don't know. It's like examples like that, or like the training thing, or it's a school, but there's only a few people in it, so it's not even really a school. Like, it's
yeah,
like it's like he did a grab bag of things and was like, I could either do this better or Kirkland it, and either way, it's different, but it's the same thing, you know. Like, his menu looks the same as a lot of other series, but
hmm
the items are slightly different and wacky, and that's what I like about it.
yeah. It's got a little bit more of a freewheeling, don't give a fuck attitude to it, and I appreciate that about it.
It's not I'm not gonna put it above Chainsaw Man. I think Chainsaw Man does exactly everything I've said like 100 times better. And that's
Yeah.
nothing to knock on Jujutsu Kaisen. It's just like you have your main character is like, I want to be the Hokage. I want to save everybody. I want to be the world's strongest hero. And then you have a guy who's like, fuck man, I want a cheeseburger and I want to get into a pussy sandwich ASAP. Let's go.
uh, yeah, I like that. Anyway, so I feel like 45 minutes is probably a good time to end this. I feel like this was kind of a good intro to the series, and we'll probably dive a lot deeper into it in the next episode when we talk about like next time we're probably what arc do you want to go up to next time? Probably like end of the anime, maybe.
We'll do the anime and I don't know when the movie's coming out,
Here,
but
let me see.
it's
Well,
I'm pretty sure the Mahito arc is about halfway through the anime.
okay. I'm looking at the chapter. So okay. Oh God, there's a fucking Shibuya incident arc that's 58 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's
All
like
right.
where it
All right.
starts getting super like it starts. Oh yeah, this series reminds me a lot of Gantz as well, just in like the tone. It's weird. I get like I as I'm digesting this series, I'm like, is there some Gantz in this? Like, I don't know why, but it just gives me that kind of feel. Maybe the guy like Gantz, but the Shibuya arc reminds me a lot of like a Gantz scenario, just
Okay.
because
So
of
let's go up to the end of the Shibuya arc. How's that sound?
sure, that'll be fun.
All right. Cool. Sounds good to me.
I
Be
mean,
able to
I'm
get
fully
through.
caught up, so I'm just going to be rereading,
All
getting
right.
re.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
that was a funny thing. Like we
Uh,
picked the. I kind of was pushing for this series because I was like, well, I like it. I just started it,
yeah.
so I have an edge. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, like
Exactly.
Dusty. Dusty was like a week ago, like, are you ready for your podcast? And I'm like, I've been ready for this podcast since I like recommended it. I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need a break. So I
I know.
like
Yeah.
went with
Exactly.
that.
No, no, like I feel it. Like sometimes like we do get a little bit of burnout reading too much manga. That's why we couldn't do it last week because I couldn't read manga last week. I was like, fuck, like I just have too much going on. Like today I read like 5 volumes today just getting ready for this. Anyway, but yeah, next week should be chill. End of the Shibuya incident arc.
Yeah,
Sound
like
good? Cool.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Because honestly, I can't really think of any other series to do. I even as a breakup,
I
like
I know. So once we get done with Jujutsu Kaisen, I know exactly which one I want to do, and I know exactly how we're going to structure it. I want my 3-part Rurouni Kenshin series.
all
All right.
right, I'll give you it.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good to
It's
me.
kind of you know what's funny is Buso Rankin. That's a series that was the
Yeah.
follow up
The
to that.
spirit.
That was the
Yeah.
series that we started in Anime Club in freshman year.
Oh, this. I don't remember that. I remember seeing it in Shonen Jump when I was a kid, when I was like 12 or 13. It previewed in Shonen Jump,
Yeah,
but I don't remember watching it in Anime
when
Club.
we go to Anime Club, Moki was watching Buso Rankin when
Mm,
during that part, and I remember that's when he picked Travis up and threatened to throw him outside because he was
mm.
interrupting like the third episode of Buso Rankin, and I was like, "Huh, this series looks familiar." And he was like, "The guy who did Rurouni Kenshin did this," and I was like, "They could do different stuff."
Yeah.
Huh. But yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to Rurouni Kenshin because I was like, I checked out Buso Rankin, and it is also another example of a secret organization hunting and fighting things using special weapons.
It's also a series that nobody remembers because it's so overshadowed by the author's other work.
And it's also super generic. Like
Yeah,
it, even
so
D. Gray
I
Man
Corey,
stands above it.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I am completely okay with never doing Buso Rankin on this podcast.
I'm fine too. I tried. I was so dry. I was so dry on stuff to read. I ended up reading the series the guy did before My Hero Academia, even though I knew it got canceled early because I was like, "Fuck, man!" I got like 4 chapters into Buso Rankin. I was just like,
Yeah.
"Why can't you just come out with a new chapter of like
Anyway,
my family going to high school series?"
okay, you know what I want? I want a Jujutsu Kaisen spinoff. So I want a Jujutsu Kaisen spinoff, but it's just like Yuji's two friends from the beginning trying to like convince the principal to keep their occult club, even though they only have two members now.
You know, when you said spinoff, and I think that's great, but what I remembered was for the Isekai series, as I stated, uh, oh, I'm in a magical world now. They did this series called Isekai High, where they take a bunch of random protagonists. They take the main characters of a bunch of random isekai series and they put them together in high school. They have nothing. The series have nothing to do with each other. I'm pretty sure some of them aren't even on the same magazine, but it's like they have a similar premise. So it's like, what if you did Secret High or Secret Organization High School, where it's like Yusuke is like a teacher for like a lot of these newer generation of like, oh, we work at a secret organization. He's like, look, no one's gonna read your effing series if you start getting if you don't get them skirts up on them chicks. That'd be like episode one. It's like we got pump etchy into your guys' series, and there you go. I don't know. But I
Shonen
don't know.
high.
I thought that, yeah, I thought it'd be funny if you did like a high school series that was dedicated to all those secret organizations. Like K Corona would be in the background, like,
uh,
man, I'm good, totally like kill the fuck out of some aliens later. No one's even gonna know.
Daytime Lantern. That's
Shit,
funny. Like, what if
Dance falls into that same effing category too.
that would be funny though? Okay, so like, I'm gonna expand off your idea where it's like, so were you thinking that like it's like a high school to like make your secret organization series better? But what I think would be even more interesting is if like it was just a regular high school manga and everybody was in their own secret organization, so they were all the protagonists of their own anime,
Oh,
but
but
like
they're
they
all in
don't
the
know that
same
anybody
class.
else is. Yeah, but like
The
they're all
teacher
like
drops
sitting there
like
like
like an eraser falls off the chalkboard. All of a sudden hits the ground. They're all,
yeah.
it must be insert evil organization here. Like all their powers just go haywire, and the teacher turns around. They're all back like,
uh
almost
Yeah,
spirit gunned you, bro.
they start to eventually know that like all of them are in different organizations. So, like a demon attacks the school, and like he's like fighting it, and the other guy's like, "No, dude, that one's mine. That one's mine. He's part of my series." And he's like, "Oh fuck, he's part of yours. My bad, bro. Go for it."
You deal with devils. I deal with demons. What's the difference? What's the difference?
Oh, dude, we could write this. Like, if we find someone who knows how to draw, this could be hilarious.
I know RCD World one on YouTube. They do a series called Anime House,
Okay.
and I watched a recent episode where they're dealing with all the anime house was getting too crowded because Netflix anime protagonists were trying to move in, and
Yeah.
the main person who was fighting against them saying, y'all aren't even real series anyways, like why are you even trying to be here, was Yusuke. Like Yusuke's just like, get out of my way, you assholes. Like, why are you even, by the time I get back, you better be gone. And the dude playing Yusuke like totally sells the Yusuke vibe of like just being irritated as all shit with all these idiot protagonists
Dude,
being around him.
send me that, dude. That sounds hilarious.
Oh, dude, it's great. And like, I guess the subplot of the episode is that like all the American shows that are anime esque, like Avatar and Samurai Jack and Teen Titans and stuff like that, like they can't move into the anime house because they're like, you're freaking cartoons. They're like,
Yeah.
we're animated. And they're like, you're animated, not in Japan, so you don't count. And they're like,
Yeah.
but look at Aang, he's totally anime. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, dude, that's hilarious. But it's mainly
Yeah,
Yusuke going, "You
it's
guys
like
are
drawn
anime, get
together,
out!"
but with anime.
Yeah, in the
That's
hood.
dope. Prob in the okay,
Yeah,
dude. Send me the link to
I've
that
got this
now.
idea. Yeah, RCD World. You guys do great work. I love you guys. Keep it up. Shit's hilarious.
Anyway, so this has been our episode on Jujutsu Kaisen. Until next time, make sure to watch the anime, but more importantly, read the manga.
Schnoodle boop bop doodle boo.